Hello, my dear brothers and sisters. Today I want to talk to you about something very important in the journey of those who are chosen by God. Being chosen is not just a beautiful title, but a huge responsibility. God has called us to live a greater purpose, something that goes beyond what we can imagine. He has incredible plans for each of us, but for those plans to come to fruition, we need to be attentive to His voice and the signs He gives us. And often, these signs involve difficult decisions. One of the most challenging is when we realize that God is showing us that someone needs to leave our lives. This can be painful because we are human. We get attached to people, we form bonds, and we do not always understand why God wants us to distance ourselves from someone. But remember, God sees what we cannot see. He knows the hearts, understands the intentions, and knows the impact that certain people can have on our spiritual journey. Perhaps you have already felt this. It may be that someone is constantly bringing conflicts, pulling you away from your purpose, or even weakening your faith. And yet, you insist on keeping this person close, perhaps out of fear, guilt, or even thinking that you can change the situation. But my brother, my sister, God does not want you to carry burdens that were not meant for you. He wants you to walk lightly, in peace, and focused on the purpose He has for your life. Today I want to help you identify the signs that God gives us when He is trying to remove someone from our lives. These signs are not meant to hurt us, but to protect us and prepare us for what is to come. God never takes something away without having something better to put in its place. Before we continue, I want to ask you for something very special. If you are here, it is because you seek to grow spiritually and understand more about God's plans for your life. So take this moment to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave your like. This way, you help us spread this message to more people who also need to hear God's voice. Let's walk together in this journey. Now let's get to the 5 signs that show that God is trying to remove someone from your life. Let's start with the first sign that God may be trying to remove someone from your life. This person compromises your spiritual peace. As chosen ones of God, inner peace is one of the greatest gifts we can receive. It is a direct reflection of God's presence in our lives. When we are at peace, we can hear God's voice more clearly, discern the paths He wants us to follow, and live according to the purpose He has given us. But unfortunately, not everyone who enters our lives contributes to that peace. Have you noticed how some people seem to bring a weight to the environment? It may be someone who constantly creates conflicts, who is always complaining, who is negative, or even manipulative. These attitudes not only affect the environment around you, but can also disturb your connection with God. And this is something very serious. The Bible teaches us in Romans 12:18, "If it is possible, live in peace with everyone." This verse shows us that God values peace in our relationships. But it also makes it clear that it will not always be possible to live in peace with everyone. There are people who, no matter how much you try, simply are not willing to walk in harmony. And when that happens, we need to seek discernment from God to understand if it is time to distance ourselves. Think with me. How can you grow spiritually if you are constantly dealing with unnecessary conflicts? How can you hear God's voice if your mind is occupied with discussions, worries, or negative feelings caused by someone? God does not want you to live like that. He wants you to have peace, because it is in peace that we can align ourselves with His purpose. Perhaps you are thinking, "But I love this person," or "They are important to me. I can't just distance myself." And I understand. It is not easy to make that decision. But remember, God never asks us to do something without a greater purpose. If he is showing you that this person is compromising your spiritual peace, it is because he has something better for you. Sometimes we insist on keeping people in our lives because we are afraid of being alone, or because we believe we can change the situation. But the truth is that it is not always our responsibility to change someone. Only God can transform hearts. And while you insist on keeping this person close, you may be delaying what God wants to do in your life. Another important point is that spiritual peace does not mean the absence of problems. We all face challenges, and even the healthiest relationships have difficult moments. But the difference lies in how those situations are resolved. A person who is aligned with God's purpose in your life will seek to resolve conflicts maturely, with love and respect. On the other hand, someone who compromises your spiritual peace will continue to bring chaos, even when you try to resolve things. Another point we need to consider is that when we are surrounded by people who divert us from God's purpose, we end up drifting away from what really matters. We waste time, energy, and often even our peace. And that is not what God wants for us. He calls us to live an abundant life, full of purpose and meaning. So how can you know if someone is diverting your focus? Here are some questions you can ask yourself. Does this person bring me closer to God or pull me away from Him? Do they encourage me to seek my purpose or distract me with unimportant things? Do I feel more motivated to grow spiritually when I am with this person? Or do I feel stagnant? If the answers to these questions show you that this person is diverting you, it is time to seek God in prayer and ask for wisdom to deal with the situation. And remember, if God is showing you that someone needs to leave your life, it is because He has something greater for you. He never asks us to give up something without having a greater purpose behind it. Sometimes, it is necessary to let some people go so that we can move forward in the race He has called us to run. I want to encourage you to trust in God's plans. He knows what is best for you and is always working for your good. If He is showing you that someone is diverting you from His purpose, trust that He has something better prepared. The third sign that God may be trying to remove someone from your life is when this person repeatedly breaks your trust. God values integrity and trust in our relationships. He created us to live in communion with one another, but that communion can only be healthy when it is built on a solid foundation of honesty, respect, and loyalty. When someone demonstrates patterns of dishonesty, betrayal, or manipulation, it not only hurts the relationship, but can also become an obstacle to what God is building in you. The Bible teaches us in Matthew 7:16, "By their fruit you will recognize them." This verse is very clear. We should not judge someone by their words or promises, but by the fruit they produce. And what are these fruits? They are the actions, attitudes, and impacts that this person has on your life. If the fruits that this person is producing are pain, doubt, distrust, and hurt, it is a warning sign. God may be showing you that this person is not aligned with the purpose He has for you. Take a moment and reflect. Is there someone in your life who constantly makes you anxious, frustrated, or even distant from God? Someone who, instead of helping you grow, seems to pull you down? If the answer is yes, it may be time to seek God in prayer and ask for clarity on what to do. Remember that God is a loving Father. He does not want you to live in an environment of constant conflict or negativity. He wants you to have peace because it is in peace that you can flourish. And sometimes, to achieve that peace, it is necessary to let some people go. I want to share something that may help you in this process. Pray for that person. Even if God is showing you that it is time to distance yourself, that does not mean you should hold on to bitterness or resentment. On the contrary, pray that God takes care of them, transforms their heart, and guides them on the right path. But at the same time, trust that God knows what is best for you. And finally, remember that spiritual peace is a precious gift. Do not allow anyone to steal that from you. If someone is compromising your peace, it is a clear sign that this person may not be aligned with God's purpose for your life. God calls us to live in peace, but He also gives us wisdom to discern when it is time to distance ourselves from situations or people that pull us away from Him. Trust the signs He gives you and have the courage to follow the path He has prepared for you. Now let's talk about the second sign that God may be trying to remove someone from your life. This person diverts your focus from God's purpose. As chosen ones, each of us has a unique mission. God created us with a specific purpose, something that only we can accomplish. He calls us to live in alignment with His plans so that we can fulfill this mission. But for that, we need to be focused. And that is exactly where some people can become an obstacle. Have you noticed how some people seem to drain your time and energy with things that have no eternal value? It may be someone who constantly involves you in trivial conversations, who encourages you to spend your time on things that do not edify, or who even discourages you from seeking God. These people may not realize the impact they are causing, but little by little, they divert your gaze from what really matters, the purpose that God has for your life. Ask yourself, does this person strengthen or weaken my walk with God? This is a simple yet powerful question. If the answer is that this person weakens your faith, it is time to seek God in prayer and ask for wisdom to deal with this situation. Another important point is that spiritual growth is not just about you. God has called you to be a light in this world, to impact other lives, and to fulfill the purpose He has for you. When you are surrounded by people who prevent you from growing, it does not only affect your life, but also the impact you could have on the lives of others. Perhaps you are thinking, but I want to help this person. I want to be a positive influence in their life. And that is a noble desire. God calls us to love and help one another. But here is the issue. You cannot help someone if that person is constantly pulling you down. It is like trying to save someone who is drowning while you yourself do not know how to swim. Before helping others, you need to be firm in your faith and in your relationship with God. If you realize that someone's presence is preventing you from growing spiritually, it does not mean you should completely abandon that person. But it may mean that you need to establish healthy boundaries. It may be necessary to reduce the time you spend with that person or change the way you relate to them, and above all, pray for that person. Ask God to work in their heart and to guide them on the right path. Remember that God wants what is best for you. He has called you to grow, to move forward, and to live an abundant life. He does not want you to be stuck in relationships that prevent you from reaching the potential He has placed in you. If God is showing you that someone is hindering your spiritual growth, trust in Him. It may be difficult to distance yourself or establish boundaries, but know that God always has a greater purpose. He never removes something from your life without having something better to put in its place. We have reached the fifth and final sign that God is trying to remove someone from your life. God has already shown you that it's time to let go, but you have been resisting. Many times, God gives us clear signs that a person should no longer be part of our journey. He shows us through situations, feelings, or even through the repetition of problems that that relationship is not aligned with the purpose He has for us. Yet, we insist on maintaining the bond. Why? Because we are human. We fear losing, feel guilty, or are emotionally attached. Perhaps you have already realized that this person is not good for you. Maybe God has allowed something to happen to show you that it's time to move on. It could have been a betrayal, a disappointment, or even a natural distancing. But instead of accepting what God is doing, you keep trying to hold on to something that He is already asking you to let go of. This is more common than we imagine. We resist because we fear the unknown. We think, what if I never find another person like this? What if I am being unfair? What if I regret it later? These thoughts trap us in cycles of pain and spiritual delay. We become stagnant, unable to move on to the next level that God has for us, because we are holding on to something that should have been left behind. The truth is that God never removes something from our lives without a purpose. He does not take away to hurt us, but to protect us and prepare us for something greater. Isaiah 43:19 tells us, "I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it?" This verse is a powerful reminder that God is always working in our favor, even when we do not understand what He is doing. When we resist God's signs, we are actually delaying the blessings He wants to pour out upon us. We are clinging to the past while God is trying to lead us into the future. It's like holding onto a door that God has already closed while He is opening another one full of opportunities and promises. If you feel that God has already shown you that it's time to let someone go, but you are still resisting, I want to encourage you to reflect on a few things. Why are you holding on to this relationship? Is it out of fear, guilt, or emotional attachment? What do you have to gain by continuing to insist? Is this person helping you grow or keeping you stuck in the same place? Do you trust that God has something better for you? These questions may be difficult to answer, but they are necessary. God wants you to trust Him, even when you do not fully understand what is happening. He sees what you do not see. He knows the hearts of people and understands the impact they have on your life, both now and in the future. Another important point is that by resisting God's signs, you may be putting yourself in situations of unnecessary pain. When God tries to remove someone from our lives, He is protecting us. But if we insist on keeping that person close, we end up hurting ourselves even more. It's like holding onto a rope that is burning your hands. The longer you hold on, the more it hurts. Remember that letting someone go does not mean you do not care or that you are giving up. It means you are trusting God and the plan He has for you. It means you are choosing to obey His voice, even when it is difficult. If you are struggling to let someone go, I want to encourage you to say a sincere prayer. Ask God to give you strength, wisdom, and peace. Tell Him that you trust His plans and that you are willing to follow the path He has laid out for you. And above all, ask Him to take care of that person. Even if they are no longer part of your life, you can pray for God to bless them and guide them on the right path. Accepting the removal of someone could be the step that releases the new blessings God has for you. It could be what allows you to move on to the next level of your journey as His chosen one. God never asks us to let go of something without having something better prepared. He is a loving Father who always wants the best for His children. So trust Him. Let go of what needs to be let go. Allow God to work in your life and lead you to where He wants you to be. It may be difficult at first, but over time, you will see that it was the best decision. And finally, remember, God is doing something new. He is opening doors, preparing paths, and leading you to a place of peace, joy, and purpose. Do not resist what He is doing. Trust, obey, and move forward. Letting someone go is never an easy task. As human beings, we form bonds, we become attached, and often we struggle to let go of people who have been part of our lives. But as God's chosen ones, we are called to trust in His plans, even when we cannot fully understand what is happening. God sees what we do not see. He knows the hearts, the intentions, and the impact that each person has on our journey. When He shows us that someone is not part of the path He has laid out for us, it is because He is protecting us and preparing us for something greater. Remember that God never removes something without a purpose. He does not take away to hurt us, but to free us from burdens we were not meant to carry. He wants you to live in peace, to grow spiritually, and to be surrounded by people who help you fulfill the purpose He has placed in your life. Therefore, when God gives you signs that it is time to let someone go, pray for discernment, trust in Him, and have the courage to move forward. It may be that, at the moment, you do not understand why. It may hurt, it may seem unfair, or it may even feel lonely. But trust. God always does what is best for those He has chosen. He is preparing you for the next level, for new blessings, and for relationships that will build you up and help you grow. Letting someone go does not mean giving up or stopping loving, but rather obeying God's will and trusting that He knows what is best for you. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone through a situation where you needed to let someone go because you felt it was what God wanted? How was that experience? Share in the comments, because your story can inspire and help others who are going through the same process. May God bless you and give you strength to follow the path He has laid out for you. Remember, He is always by your side, guiding every step of your journey as His chosen one.